All right, so we finished? You got more? Did we finish the count?
I think we're done. All right.
Okay, all right, so now I will make, everybody here?
We have to vote.
Okay.
I think we have to
He told me I have to do this again. Okay, I'll make a motion that we pass, vote on this resolution. I think we've done that already, right?
We have to vote.
Okay, we did that already, all right.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the administrative calendar for items 7 through 39, exclusive of items number 16 and 26?
Yes. Councilman Ambrosino? Aye. Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Pozito?
Before I place my vote, I just want to comment on item number 29. I would like to take the opportunity to commend the men and women of CSEA Local 880 and the building department, engineering department, and the town clerk's office, both past and present. Waiving the Sandy fees has not been something that's easy. Very often those departments are greeted with people that could be less than happy, very aggravated. All that, and I missed it?
You have to do it, or we have to do the whole thing over?
I'm not doing that all over again, but.
But we have to, motion.
Oh, we have to start over.
The stenographer was absent, so we have to
So
Start
take the
over.
motion again.
Madam Clerk, will you please recall the vote on the administrative calendar on all items?
But we did not come out of executive session.
Oh, sorry.
Supervisor, I make the motion, we come out of executive session.
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Pozito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? And Supervisor Gillen?
To be clear, we're voting on coming out of executive session. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Okay. Madam Clerk, will you now please call the administrative calendar except for items number 16 and 26, which have been tabled?
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Pozito?
Before I vote, I'd just like to comment on item number 29. I would like to commend the members of CSEA Local 880, those that are in the building department, the engineering department, the clerk's office, both past and present, who really, since Sandy, have been dealt with a bulk of what we've been dealing with Sandy permits and the waiver of those fees. I know very often individuals come to those respective departments with a real issue. Their lives were washed away in the hurricane, and I guess it's now our job and our mission to help pick up the pieces. And I know that it's very often they are dealt with impatience and people that are aggravated, upset. Let's be honest, many of them had their life washed away with the ocean. And the fact that we've been able to waive these fees since the storm, just in the building department alone, we've waived $6.1 million in permit fees that have helped people get back into their homes, their businesses back in action. So I just want to commend our workforce and those departments for really stepping up. It's not always easy, but know that we're doing the right thing. I'm proud to be a part of the town of Hempstead, and I'm proud of all of you. I vote aye.
Just to follow up a little bit on what Councilman Diaz-Pozito has said, from the clerk's office, we will continue to waive the fees for such things as marriage licenses, birth certificates, death certificates, passports. Obviously, many people lost vital records. So any of those victims from Sandy that I can help by providing a copy, a courtesy copy, it would be my honor. And I also commend the CSEA and the workers of the town of Hempstead for all they did and everything that they did and will continue to do to help the victims of Sandy. And continuing to call the roll, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Yes, and I agree with both of you.
And Supervisor Gillen?
I vote yes on all items except for items number 13 and 14, on which I vote no. I ran for this office on a platform of introducing transparency and good government to the town of Hempstead. Voters elected me because they are tired of business as usual and of a patronage system of government that has been at best careless with taxpayer dollars. Unfortunately, it seems some are resistant to turning their page, and their award a new contract to a new bond advisor and counsel of their choosing, selected without going through an open and transparent RFP process, is a prime example. My office repeatedly asked the council to issue an RFP for these services. If they felt strongly that we needed additional bond advisors and counsels, they should do an RFP, but they declined to do so. In our personal lives, we regularly seek the benefits of competition. Whether it's shopping at a store, purchasing a vehicle, nobody has to tell us it's a good idea to make price comparisons and quality comparisons in order to get the best bang for our buck. A fair and open competitive process also helps discourage favoritism and encourages additional vendors to compete for our business. That's why it's a good idea and good policy when soliciting services in excess of $20,000 to issue an RFP. Most towns and villages, including Oyster Bay, North Hempstead, Babylon, Smithtown, have policies like this in place. My office has issued a competitive RFP or RFQ for every contract that we have proposed. The town of Hempstead, however, is the outlier, and as a result, our council has been in the practice of awarding contracts to people who they favor without accountability. On April 10th, I'm going to introduce a resolution to bring us in line with other municipal governments and require that RFPs be issued for professional services in excess of $20,000. The taxpayers deserve the transparency, accountability, and good government that they voted for. Therefore, because these contracts were put forward absent an RFP process, which I requested several times, I vote no. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Before you adjourn, I want to put this on record.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
No,
I voted
will not.
last. May I have a motion to
No,
adjourn?
you voted last.
of
No,
order.
point of order.
Can I have a point of order? I have a point of order. I don't think Dennis Dunn voted.
Point of order. Okay.
Would you call Dennis Dunn?
Point of order. I want this on record before I vote. I haven't voted.
Yes, you have voted.
Well, still, I have something to say because you just made a statement. She made a
Mr.
statement.
Dunn may vote.
She made a statement that is totally untrue. And certainly I want to say I have never voted for anything that I didn't know was correct, just like I did not vote for what you had today because I had never seen it, I've never met the man, and you did not bring it to us. You need to talk to us and let us know what you're doing. Now, you know the reason we had to get someone else because you did something that we knew absolutely nothing about. You went all around us. You didn't bother to tell us what you were doing.
What are you talking about,
I'm talking about the ones that came around us as far as going to the comptroller. You talked to them. They came to you, but they never told us.
What are you talking about,
I'm
Senior
talking about
Councilwoman?
the bond issue the reason we're replacing those two people.
You're
Because
replacing
of
them
what you
because I
do.
talked to them and I didn't tell you?
No, you
Is that
didn't
what
tell
you're saying?
any of us. But you said this is transparency. So if it's
So
transparency,
we're replacing our
supposed to know.
bond counsel and our bond advisors because they talked to my office and they didn't talk to them first.
No. We're supposed
Is that what
to
you're
be,
saying,
there
Councilwoman?
are 6 of us on this board. Each of us has 1 vote. You disrespected. And don't let me tell other people what you've done. So don't try this with me.
If you're talking about talking to our bond advisors about refinancing our debt because it would save taxpayers
No,
millions
I'm
of dollars,
talking about what
you're
you did.
absolutely right. I did talk to them about that.
Yes,
and I
you
was
did.
very grateful that I did talk to them about that. And it was a very good thing for the taxpayers of the town of Hempstead.
Well, that's what you
Mr.
say, but
Dunn-
I know differently.
You
So-
know differently?
Yes,
Okay,
I
well, we can
do.
get you the financial information to show the money that is going to be saved if we refinance our debt and the millions of dollars that were lost because we did not refinance our certain debt in December.
Well, you
We
have
can
to
get, I'll
prove
give
all
that
of
to your
You
office.
need to
Mr. Dunn needs to
prove it
vote
all.
now.
Prove it all.
I'm sorry that I didn't call you Councilman Dunn.
I just want to agree with everything that Councilman D'Esposito said, those wonderful things he said about the town, different departments. Thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention, and I agree with everything you said, including the vote, and I vote aye.
May we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this meeting. It's one of the good one.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Oops. Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn. Gotcha this time. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. That concludes the formal portion of our meeting. We will remain in session to hear public comment. Maureen Saucer? saying this right? Maureen Sauer? Oh.
Thank you very much. I'll try to make it
Thank you. Could you just please state your name and address for the record?
sour, and I reside in Bethpage, New York. I'll make this as concise as I can. I was looking for senior housing in Hempstead. We joined the list, and shortly thereafter, I had to make sure that the senior housing here would accommodate someone in a wheelchair. I spoke with Mr. Pellegrino, and I said, is it truly handicap accessible? His response was, basically, no one's ever complained before. I did make a trip to the Knolls to visit someone my husband worked with. I had no problem entering the apartment, getting around the living room, but the bathroom is 5 foot wide and 7 feet long. Even if the door was off, I would be unable to use either the toilet or the sink. After that time, we spoke with a legislative aide when Gary Hughes was still here. We had written Gary a letter, and his aide responded. He said, as far as he knew, every bathroom in the town of Hempstead is the same size. There is no actual wheelchair accessible bathroom. I was surprised since the American with Disabilities Act has been passed so long ago, and I can't go into a movie theater, a restaurant, a casino, anywhere without seeing handicap bathroom signs, except in the town of Hempstead housing. And I would like to find out if anyone is looking into this, to accommodating people in wheelchairs, perhaps when an occupant leaves their place of residence, that could be converted. But something really needs to be done to address these needs, because they're very real, and there's something that I don't necessarily want. There's something I actually need.
Wait, can I address that for a second? So the housing department falls, I'm the liaison to that housing department for the town board. So it's fortuitous that you came here today, because we met last week with Ronnie Lawrence, our commissioner of housing. She explained to me the situation with our housing, and basically most of our funding for housing comes from the federal government under the Housing and Urban Development Program. Some of it comes from private investment in the way of people paying a portion of the rent, and the other being subsidized by the federal government. In order to get capital to make improvements and upgrade, we are in the process of reviewing and looking at the consolidation of some of our properties, which would give us a bulk of capital to upgrade our facilities. And one of the things that they would look at is putting in elevators, expanding the size of bathrooms, and making it compliant. So it's a process that we have to go through. We'll be working with HUD. We are looking at public-private partnerships to raise capital. And that's something that we have it on our radar to address, because not only with the situation regarding accessibility, we also need to upgrade our facilities and make them more modern and more attractive to the people that use them. Thank you for coming. We're on it.
And just to sort of follow up on that, if I may, just 1 second. I believe, and Bruce may know better, but we do have facilities that, we have facilities with the option to rent, and then we have facilities, which I believe the Knolls is a purchase facility. So when people purchase those units, They are, I believe, by the lease, which is something that we could look into. Maybe that's where we change this. They could actually make changes in the apartment, knock down walls.
That was interesting because I was told there is a remote possibility that could happen.
Yeah, it does.
Before anything happens, you have to get the approval of the specific board of that area.
Which I think is what we need to work on. We need to make sure that none of those modifications are made without staying in compliance with the ADA.
However, not only would we have to pay for all of these changes in the bathroom, but when we left, someone would have to pay to have them reversed back to the initial area. And that is a huge amount of money to have to lay out.
Just to ask, the person that you went to visit, did they purchase it brand new, or were they a second purchase?
No, she had been there for many, many years.
Okay,
I think an original owner.
understood, okay.
Okay? Well, thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for your comments, and we are working on an RFP to do some improvements with some private partners as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas Skumaka.
I think there's probably a percentage.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and
Good
Councilman.
afternoon.
I'm here today because I wanted to discuss with you guys my situation with full-time with the Parks Department. In 2014, I was given full-time by then Supervisor Kate Murray. I did the background check, I did the fingerprinting, I did the everything physical, and I passed. I was given a start date, and it was great. I had just proposed to my then girlfriend, and we were ready to start our lives. The next day, I got a phone call from the commissioner stating that it was put on hold due to budget issues. Since then, it's still been on hold. I have tried multiple times contacting personnel, commissioners, even supervisors. I'm not sure if you received my letter, Supervisor, and resume. I had submitted it to your office in February, and I just kind of want, some explanations. I brought with me today several of my resumes, two of which I wanted to draw attention to. They're from two different supervisors. The first one states that I was crew chief, foreman. I was giving orders to full-time employees on how to maintain and do the park. I was working alone every morning, doing ball fields, setting up, because we were short-staffed, and I was the only one who was able to come in. I have a college degree, associate's degree from Nassau Community College, 8 years experience on the town, and yet my application is still in, waiting to be approved for full-time. I don't know what else I need to do in order to get full-time. I honestly don't. I've done everything I could do. I've watched other people get on full-time, and instead of being discouraged and given up, I've applied that to myself to work harder, to make myself stand out more, to make myself a better employee. I learned from past failures, revamped myself. So I'm here today because I just wanted a clear answer from the council members and supervisor about what I need to do. My wife is pregnant, my first child is coming in May, and times are very difficult, I'm sure, as everybody is aware. So if I could get some clarity, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I just was advised we do have your resume. We'll speak to the Parks Commissioner and review your situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck with the new baby.
Thank you.
Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square. Who determines the conditions under which litigation is settled? Stop the clock, please.
Town Attorney's Office, in consultation, sometimes with the councilman, sometimes with the supervisor's office, most times with the judge.
But if the town wants to settle something and end the litigation, who makes the decision on that? The town attorney's office?
Essentially, litigation is settled by my office, correct?
Whoever wants to continue litigation, it would be done by your office too. Would that be correct to say? If they don't want to settle and the town attorney's office wants to continue litigation, is that
If
correct?
you're trying to get to the point where it is an autonomous decision made by the town attorney's office exclusively, that is not correct. Everything we do is done through consultation with other, sometimes it's the elected officials, sometimes it's department heads.
Okay. Who's currently acting as our firematic liaison?
The town attorney's office is trying to negotiate those contracts right now.
Who's currently acting?
Excuse me?
Who's currently acting as a firematic liaison?
The town attorney's office.
Okay. I wanted to speak on, I ran out of time, on the additional news media that you're going to advertise public notices on. Under the Santino administration, that was brought down to 1, LIBN. Now we have a whole list here. Why are we choosing to add all these newspapers for public notices?
Just adding them doesn't mean that we're going to use all of them, but it's a good, I thought it was a good idea to expand our portfolio of places where we can put in legal notices, because those publications that we put forward are publications that may be more widely read than Long Island Business News, such as the Herald, the Five Towns Jewish Times, the various Anton papers. They might have a higher readership, so we would be providing better notice to residents than
Yes, and Supervisor, I would like to congratulate you and also my colleagues on the town board for considering to expand the list, because in my community, we have a community of a large amount of Orthodox Jewish people. I think perhaps in my district of 130 some odd thousand residents, it makes up almost a third of the district. And these are people who do not read normal publications from Friday at sundown to Saturday at sundown. They do not look at anything that is electronic, whether it be television or a computer or an iPad or a cell phone. They get most of their information from written publications, and we would be excluding a large portion of my district from legal notices and other communications that are official in nature if that did not occur. So I want to thank you, Supervisor. I also want to thank Councilman D'Esposito for his support on this as well.
Okay. Are we going to be proposing, is the town going to be proposing, town board going to be proposing legislation that will allow the town to hold special elections when there's openings on the town board? No, well, according to Councilwoman Gooseby, there's a municipality out east that allows the special election. You said that. Yeah. You said that. I have it on video for two last times.
I believe the governor has to call special elections.
Okay. Will the town board be rehearing the short-term rental ban legislation since it was improperly noticed? And that's really a misnomer, that short-term rental ban. That was the way it was advertised. It was a vacancy law, a vacant property law, and then they turned it into a rental law, and they only advertised, Supervisor Santino and the council people billed it as a short-term rental law, but it really added additional fees and regulation to rental properties. So it was really not noticed properly. So will you be noticing it properly to give everybody a fair shot at?
That law is on the books and it's valid.
The answer is no, then.
Well, the town board can do whatever it sees fit, but the law is on, there's no reason to, unless it's going to be amended. The law is on the books and it's valid.
Well, there was no reason to table the mass mailing legislation, but you did. And there was no reason, because that notice was very clear as to what it was about, even though maybe it didn't have the descriptive term, but anyone reading it would understand it. Anyone reading the short-term rental ban notification would not know what it was. So, the idea is you want to violate the law and just let someone challenge it because you want to spend more money on litigation. That's your preference, I guess. Will the town board be rescinding the windows and restaurant law since it serves no public purpose?
Right now, that's a subject of litigation, and so we can't comment on it.
Well, according to Joe Rod, it has nothing to do with the litigation, so I'm not sure how it could be. He says he detached it. He says it has nothing to do with Billy Dean's. It was done by itself, made up, that 34 years ago, now it's 36 years ago, they researched the North Hempstead diner that got robbed and people got terrorized, and that was his genius for coming up with this law. So how could it be a subject of litigation if that was the spur that started this whole thing? And I got him on video on CBS News saying that, so I think I've sent that to you.
So, Mr. Procacci, this is not question and answer. We have your comments, and I don't know, I don't believe there's any desire on the part of the board to repeal the windows law. I may be wrong, but that's where we are as of right now.
I wasn't
Windows
talking
law
to you
is-
anyway, so, I was just asking the board, basically.
We are not going to comment during the pendency of litigation on a matter that the subject matter of a lawsuit involves the law that was passed. So
Okay, thank you for making the connection now. So now Joe
There
Rod essentially
is,
lied.
the only connection between you mentioned Billy Dean's, the only connection between Billy Dean's and the windows law has been brought up by Billy Dean's attorneys in connection with the litigation. It had nothing to do with the town of Hempstead passing the windows law.
And how come you hired Berkman Hennick to sit in on the hearing on February 9th of 2016? Why did you pay him money to sit in on the windows and restaurants law legislation, and he billed Billy Dean's case if that wasn't the case? If it would have to do with the 34-year-old crime that was committed in North Hempstead, why did you have Berkman Hennick sit in on that hearing if it had nothing to do with it? So hence, once again, you're lying again. We had the recent snowstorm. I heard my neighbor with the snow blower. We have that legislation. It was 9:03. I looked at the clock and I thought they're violating town code because we passed that noise law. And we never, Mr. Blakeman said that we were going to change that to exclude snow blowers. I hope you do that. I want to go real quick.
Did you yell at your neighbor?
No, I admire him for shoveling his snow. Why would I do that? I mean, come on. I mean, you're the ones who are going to give him a fine for doing it. The big screens, when I inquired about residents doing it, they made a rule just for the sake of making a rule that residents can't do it. But these screens, when they're working, can do anything a computer does. And I wish the board would change its policy and allow residents to be able to make presentations. Nassau County does it. And you bring in a thumb drive, you stick it in the computer when the technician's here, and you could do anything you could do on a computer. Video, you could do a presentation with PDFs or whatever. But, and one more thing, on the notice of, putting jobs online, this is a plug-in for WordPress. I'm sure they have one for the type of content management system. It's free. It's free. You could accept resumes, you post jobs, and the public notices you talk about, you could just use the same thing. I wish we would just abolish up your podiums there. You go out and you tell people you go to the website and you get apply for town jobs online. It's a free plug-in. It costs no money.
Thank you. Can you just hand that up to the clerk?
Sure.
Thanks.
Well, you when you get a chance.
Thank you.
Okay, but the thing is, we could advertise jobs online.
We're going to be advertising
free.
jobs online, Mr. Procacci.
We're still hiring people, though, and that's very troubling when we're hiring people. The man who came in discussing his park job, we had money for National Mod to go to $135,000 position, but we don't have this guy who's been on part-time forever. We don't give that courtesy.
Thank you. Catherine, Gary?
My name is Catherine Gary from Rockville Center. I'm here today on behalf of the Village of Hempstead resident Terry Winston, who was unable to be here, but who has given me her statement and asked me to read it to you. She states, "First and foremost, I would like to commend Supervisor Gillen for her recent letter to the Town IDA Board indicating her strong disapproval of the most recent pilot application submitted by the Mazda car dealership located in the Village of Hempstead. The Village of Hempstead and her school district taxpayers are already burdened by 25 other pilots and with no end in sight. These pilots are dramatically undermining the economy of the village rather than promoting growth. Furthermore, they have produced only a mere handful of new jobs, which can never justify the major multi-million-dollar tax losses experienced by the village taxpayers." Supervisor Gillen's compelling statement, which was read aloud at the March 14th public hearing on the Mazda pilot, outlined in detail the reasons why this application should be rejected. She indicated that it would serve as a major hindrance to the economic growth of the village and that the mere handful of new jobs created could not justify granting this application. Unfortunately, Ms. Gillen's courageous effort is being undermined not only by the Village of Hempstead's Mayor, Donald Ryan, but by the IDA Town Board and its staff members themselves. The constant biased attitude displayed by the town IDA staff, in addition to their disdain for the public, is a gross injustice, and it is totally unwarranted. This agency is responsible for approving tax abatements. Therefore, as a homeowner and taxpayer who will ultimately bear the brunt of the tax burdens created by these pilots, it is within my right to question as well as to air my concerns with respect to these applications within the village where I live. Myself and the others who have attended these hearings are routinely treated with disrespect, and the agency has routinely denied access to the necessary public documents needed to substantiate our arguments in opposition to the granting of these outrageous tax breaks. On March 14th, all of the residents who were present at the hearing witnessed and experienced firsthand the unconstitutional and disgraceful manner in which the public hearing was conducted. While the applicant was afforded the opportunity prior to that public hearing to present to the IDA board members his application at an inducement hearing, not a single IDA board member showed up at the public hearing to hear the voices of the taxpayers. At the public hearing, Mr. Parola allowed his assistant, Edie Longo, to preside over the hearing. She became defensive, often interjecting and interrupting speakers. She was also sarcastic and hostile when she was asked why she and the agency had refused to release the application, the cost-benefit analysis, and the schedule of payments prior to the hearing. It is critical and necessary that these documents be released to the public at least 10 days prior to the hearing, so that the public would have the necessary time to analyze the content of these intricate documents and formulate their opinion based on fact. The fact is that Ms. Longo has been misusing and undermining the intent and purpose of the Freedom of Information Law to actually prevent the public from viewing the contents of these critical documents until after the public hearing. Furthermore, the IDA board members have so little regard for the public that they rarely show up at the hearings, yet they deem themselves to be qualified to render a fair judgment without hearing the testimony of the residents. I question whether or not the attorney representing the applicant should be practicing law. He falsely stated at the hearing that there would be no tax losses as the result of this pilot, when the very nature and substance of pilots is tax abatement. And in this case, the tax abatement is over $7 million, a burden which will primarily impact the residents of the Hempstead Village and its school district. The Mazda attorney also insulted the Hempstead residents by telling them that they should be grateful for the mere 5 apprenticeships promised. I urge each member of the town board to examine the project application submitted by Mazda and the other documents with which were only released after the public hearing. They show that Mazda and Nassau County are the only winners. I ask for the supervisor's continued opposition to these economy-draining applications. And please keep in mind that the Village of Hempstead also has some 25 other pilots that are in need of revisiting. Again, I thank Supervisor Gillen and hope that the people of Hempstead will continue to have her support with respect to any future pilot applications. Thank you for your attention, and I hereby submit this statement to you, along with Ms. Winston's statement that she made at the public hearing, as well as the 29-page document that was withheld from the public prior to the hearing.
Thank you.
And at the hearing. Thank you. So where should I submit?
You had it.
This, along and the copy of the statement, and the other. And she wanted her to have this statement as well. Thank you very much.
Jack McCloy.
I brought something for each of you to take a look at while I address you. Jack McCloy, Baldwin resident. I would like to mention that in April of last year, I addressed the board about a conversion of a dry cleaning business to a coin laundry in Baldwin, and I voiced my opposition. The issue was again raised in December, where the subsequent decision was to approve after initial disapproval. I came before this board in January and expressed my disappointment that the notification of reapplication was not submitted to those who originally attended the April meeting last year. I was told that the notice of reapplication was published in the Long Island Business News, and I do not subscribe. I look at notices in Newsday and the Herald, but I was also told that the sign to announce the reapplication was posted on the property. I wanted to mention, and again, I thank the supervisor for coming to a local community meeting, and along with Erin King-Sweeney, who I happened to give one of these to in advance. And I wanted to thank them for taking time to come to our community meeting. And that day, I took pictures of signs in Baldwin that show upcoming public hearings. And as you could see in the printed piece, some of these, which were photographed on February 14th, announce meetings that occurred either a month before, 10 months before, or well over a year before. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because when you have a proliferation of these signs that are not taken down after the hearing, the residents become immune to what the situation is. They don't realize if the hearing was in the past or it's an upcoming hearing. And I do want to mention that I got a call from Joe Ra, who said that my suggestion of those who visit a town zoning hearing and submit their name and address, if there's a reapplication, they'll be notified of a subsequent hearing application. Thank you, Joe. You also said that that would be a topic of town law that might come up in the future. I also want to thank Albert Jagers, who called me about telling me that signs like this should and hopefully will be taken down in the future. But what I wanted to ask is if you as the town board could institute a requirement that after a reasonable period of time, a fine would be given to those that obviously disregard the need to take these signs down. There's a proliferation of them. And I don't think my community is the only one that has these application signs that remain up well after the hearing date. So my request is that you consider what a reasonable time period might be, 30 days, 60 days, and afterwards you say that a notice isn't necessarily the only option, but a fine would be appropriate. I thank you for that. The second issue that I wanted to mention is that I thank you for your comments about the removing the item 26 off the calendar. I'm concerned about the IDA board. I think that in general, the IDA board has done as much bad as it has done good with the situations in Green Acres, the Mazda dealer, the FDR laundry situation. When you shift the burden of taxation by providing tax abatement to the general public, when you give a break to certain entities like this, it just gives the appearance of favoritism. I think that anybody that wants to do business in the town should do business on an equal playing field. It shouldn't be a situation where they're getting a break. I think that we should take a look at the overall benefit that an IDA has given this town, and my suggestion is that the entire IDA be dissolved. But thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. Mr. Ra, maybe you could look into preparing some resolution for us to review about potential legislation requiring people to take down signs in a reasonable amount of time.
Yes, Supervisor.
Mr. McCoy, I can tell you, it is closed, and if you go by there now, you'll see that they're telling everyone to come remove their garments because they're going out of business. That's Daisy's Cleaners, right? They're not. They went on laundromat, but it's not approved. Nope. You go by there today and you'll see it's going out of business. Okay. You don't have to do that. You can bring it in and give it to my office anytime you want to. Mm-hmm.
I think, and maybe perhaps we could speak to the BZA, and they could make it a condition of the hearing that it's removed within 10 days, or I don't know. Mr. Rod, do you know do they charge for these signs when they're given?
I believe the building department does, yes. There's no fee for that? Oh, we don't. Oh, we don't.
They make them on their own, the BZA signs, so they just have to meet the criteria. Okay.
Stuart Kroll. Stephanie Capuano.
Hi, Stephanie Capuano, Bontour, New York. I just have a question. As far as the postings for the bidding on the Town of Hempstead shelters, I just saw that the other day on Facebook. Where is it posted? Where are they posted in the future too?
Can you clarify where all the postings are?
For the bids and contracts for the shelter. Thanks.
It's on our website.
Like, where would I look in the future?
So there's a section of the town website just for bidding, and they're all listed there.
So I would go to the town website. Okay, Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter or the Town of Hempstead?
Go to the Town of Hempstead website and look under the RFP bid section, and they'll all be there.
Okay, thanks. And also, I just wanted to say a bipartisan quote from Peter King, but she's not here, Erin. Loyalty and keeping word cannot be a one-way street, and I thank you all for your transparency in trying to get everything on track again, and thank you.
Thank you. Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Just to circle back to that last conversation, that's the only places we can find the RFPs for all of the behaviorist, vet, privatization. Are they posted or advertised anywhere?
They're published on the New York State Contract Reporter as well.
I'm sorry?
New York State Contract Reporter.
Okay, so is the administration assuming that a behaviorist will respond to an advertisement in such a place?
That's where we're posting all our RFPs and on our website.
Okay. Could someone tell me who's responsible for making repairs to the shelter, such as the dryer that has been broken? Kennel cough is spreading, illness is spreading, nothing is really changing.
I disagree with that comment, but we're here to listen to your comments, so you can make any comments, and then if you have any questions, we can.
I believe.
If you have any questions, we can answer that. You can let me know what your questions are. We can address them later. We're here just to listen to your comments right now.
But you disagreed with that comment, so you are under the impression that the dryers are working at the animal shelter?
I'm under the impression that there are changes being made at the animal shelter.
Okay. That's very interesting. There are emails that are not being responded to from staff, very concerning emails in regards to the animals and agriculture and markets laws. Are you aware of that too?
If you're talking about Kim Strong, she posted something on the website, and I made it very clear that Max did not go to her rescue. Max is still at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. I can't control what Kim Strong puts on her website.
I understand that's not what I was discussing. Those are emails that I'm talking about from current staff that are not being responded to by your staff. There is kennel cough in the animal shelter. I'm not surprised. Illness starts spreading when the laundry is not clean, when the dryers are not working, when the dogs are not getting out for fresh air. I'm not sure if you're aware of that as well, that the dogs are not being put in the exercise pens. I also wanted to clarify something that was a comment that was made by the controller. As a matter of fact, there's an ACO, Ashley Sheraton, that had a dog, Willie, on her truck. And she was bringing that very injured dog to Central Vet, but was diverted because Central Vet we were in arrears. The town was in arrears. The dog died by the time the truck got to where she was diverted to in Farmingdale. So to say that there was never a lapse in medical care is just a play on words.
When did this happen?
I don't have a date. I can certainly get a date for you.
Recently?
I'm not quite sure. It was months ago.
Okay.
But again, the statement was made that the dogs are not denied any medical care and there's always coverage, which is very deceiving because, yes, of course, we have contracts. We just have 2. Not quite sure why we no longer have 7 contracts with various vets that we used to have. You may want to look into that since I understand Mr. Ross said that the director and Dr. Siegel recommended these 2 contracted vets. It's a little interesting that all of the reputable vets are no longer in contract with the town. Question about your hiring committee. Who do you have as far as who will be responding to these RFPs for the behaviorist, for privatization, for the vet care? Do you have a committee of people?
We're waiting for responses to come in, and then we'll be happy to walk you through the procedures when we're moving forward.
Right, but will you establish any kind of committee, as Santino did? Of course, he just put his members of his own administration on the interview committee. What are your plans?
I'll be happy to discuss that with you outside of your comment session.
Today?
It depends on how long the meeting goes.
Okay, I think we're finishing up. I appreciate that. It's been 1 month since your administration had asked us to basically wait, which is a tough position to be in because it's not us that are spinning on our cages and getting sick and not getting outdoors and, wet blankets and behaviorists that, I don't know if you know about a dog buddy. You may know about a dog buddy that I saw there yesterday that has been there since March 1st, still not evaluated, an owner turn in. Just to give you and your administration an idea of what's supposed to happen with a case like that. A dog that's turned in by an owner should be able to be turned around for adoption relatively quickly with an evaluation medically and behaviorally. This dog is sitting in that cage for all of these weeks. It's the 3rd week now, an adoptable dog and a hound mix. And it's pretty discouraging to think that your administration is overseeing all of this. I mean, I'm assuming that, and these kind of things are still taking place, and that employees are not being responded to that have legitimate concerns. I think that if you are making such a statement that you are satisfied with all of this, that's that's kind of an eye-opener for me. And the 1 month is up, so I do appreciate whatever you can follow up with concerning the responses to these RFPs, although good luck with getting responses because you have them in no places that anyone in animal care and welfare and protection would look. And this is all reminiscent of the past few years. And by your own word, I expected much different. So I look forward to that meeting.
Thank you for your comments. Emmy Funderbuck?
Hello, everyone.
Do you please state your name and address for
Yes,
the
it's
record?
Emergency Funderburk Ivy, Roosevelt, New York. Basically, I have two questions. One, what is the process to get a sign, a no parking sign on your block or your corner?
You live in Roosevelt?
I live in Roosevelt.
Okay, well, you could reach out to Councilwoman Goosby's office. I'd be happy, I'm sure she'd be happy to help you out with that and help you work through that process with us.
Got it. And my next question is, I went to the animal shelter on Sunday because after I went there and was treated so badly in the past, I figured I'll give it a second try. But I can tell you, I haven't seen any changes there. And that's only to say from the perspective of a person going to hopefully adopt a dog. I was looking for a specific dog that they had listed on the website. And no one knew what I was talking about when I went there. And also, I was directed to these cages that were not clean, filled with feces. The stench was so bad that I couldn't even look at the other dogs. I just said, forget it, and I left. And I went over to North Shore Animal League. And that's just to say this. You know, whatever problems is going on over there, I just think between the staff and this board, you need to implement new policies, new procedures of how that's all happening. You know, when you go over to the North Shore, it does not smell when you go in. It's very friendly, very family-oriented. You can take the dog out, hold the dog, and it's first come, first service. First come, first service. There, you have to go through this long, extended process before you get a dog. And then you have all these dogs that are left there. I just feel that if you guys would change your policy and your procedure, maybe some of the dogs can be moved out and really put into new homes. The way that it's set up now, it's horrible. And the smell alone, it just makes you say, forget it. You know, you want us to adopt a dog. Don't make it difficult for people to adopt dogs. And I'm asking as a taxpayer to look at the policies and procedures, even if you have to change staffing over there, because sometimes people they think that that's their home. And they don't understand that the animal has to be placed in a loving home. And it can't be just, well, if I look one way, I'm going to be a better parent for a dog than someone else. So I just think the policy and procedure over there needs to be looked at. And if you need to set up committees to look, you know, do what you need to do, because dogs can't live that way and then you want them to be adopted. That process is terrible.
Thank you for your comments. Wilhelmina Funderburk?
Hello, everyone. I'm Wilhelmina Funderburk. I reside at 156 East Clinton Avenue in Roosevelt for over 50 years. And there are certain things that are happening in my community that really need to be corrected. I know you're short staff on code enforcements. I don't know who the code enforcement person is for Roosevelt. I would like to know. Because even on my block, there's a house that use her driveway as a car sales place. All the cars in that driveway have the same plate number from Jersey. They parked the cars on the street with no license plates, which I called the first precinct and told them about it. They came out and they gave them a ticket, and then they say, you know, you gotta wait, give them time to move the car. I don't understand that, because I thought in the town of Hempstead, which we are under the ordinance of the town of Hempstead, that cars cannot be parked on the street without license plates. Also, on the south side of East Clinton Avenue, I was here about 2 months ago. They're supposed to check and see where they put a sign in the wrong place. That sign is not supposed to be directly in front of my house like it is. I already have a sign on the pole, electrical pole. That sign that they put there is supposed to go at the end of the block, because there's not supposed to be any parking from 156 East Clinton Avenue to Park Avenue. And I'm telling you, you definitely need to send someone out there to do another traffic control on East Clinton, because on East Clinton Avenue, from Nassau Road all the way down to the end, you have school children going to school every day. You have the sanitation department at the end of that block. I mean, it is really a problem. There should be a time when people cannot park, period, on one side of that street.
You have something you'd like to add? You can stop the clock.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor. Tom Reed, representing Traffic Control. We did complete a case at the request of the resident, and we are implementing a no stopping any time for the first 2 houses on the block going west on the block to prevent parking in that area.
First 2 houses.
We petitioned the 2 homeowners, and three of the homeowners, and 2 of them agreed to restrict the parking in front of the house. Your neighbor directly next door did not want any parking restrictions in front of their home, so we were not able to implement the restriction in that house. So we're just doing the 2 houses from the corner going west. So then you'll have a restriction from...
Yeah, I'm going to go back, because I just spoke to my neighbor next door yesterday, and she was complaining that she did not want parking on her side.
Right,
From my house to Park Avenue, nobody wants to, and it wasn't because of the neighbors wanting to park there. We got to understand why there was no parking there. It's no parking there because it's a curve and you're on your way to school, and it was being accidents because of people taking their kids to school. It has nothing to do with the neighbors.
Well, we need the residents' approval to implement the restrictions, which we did. We petitioned the homeowners to see if they wanted the restriction or not, and 2 of them did want the restriction, so we are giving them the no stopping any time to keep the cars from parking there. The 1 home did not want any parking restrictions.
I'm going to suggest, if you, I wanted to let you have a private conversation with the commissioner.
Because, see, this has already been taken care of years ago when Councilwoman Dorothy Goose came out there.
But that's what we tried to explain to you the last time, that the last time the restriction was only done for your house 6 years ago, which we have the case on file, whatever the case may be. And we opened the case when you requested it, and then we petitioned the homeowners to see what they wanted. We petitioned 3 of them who did not have any kind of restriction whatsoever. You were the only house that had one for a 25-foot restriction. We petitioned the 3 homeowners. 2 of them wanted, we're giving it to them. The 3rd one did not want it, so we're not implementing the restriction on that house.
Past my house is what I'm trying
Well, we went all the way up to the corner, so we had to petition that homeowner for the side portion of their property.
Okay, so, I mean, if you're talking about the same place I'm talking about.
Yes.
In the first place, this was not because of the,
The reasons don't matter, that we did what you wanted, we're restricting the area. You didn't want any parking there, so.
Let's understand the problem here. Wait 1 minute, Councilwoman. Let's understand the problem here. The problem here is that there's a curve, okay?
We cannot do anything about the geometry of the roadway.
I understand that perfectly well.
And so now we're restricting.
If you let me explain it to you, you know what's going on. Number one, the reason why they came out and did a traffic stop was because from my driveway to the corner,
They had a lot of accidents. The house next door to me, a car came out of the curb, hit the tree, and someone got killed. They came out and did a traffic survey and found out that due to the fact that that's a curve in the street, that cars should not be parked there in the mornings on both sides because people are taking their kids to school. That's the reason why they came out there, not because of the residents want no parking. See, you got to understand
Well,
what the whole problem
you have to understand, we need the permission of the property owners to restrict any kind of parking, whether it's time limit parking, no stopping anytime, or no parking anytime. If the residents do not want parking restrictions for their property, we accommodate them. And in the past, I don't know what the survey was done in the past, but we accommodated you for the restriction, because that you voiced that concern with the parking in that area. We did it for your house, and then it was left alone for a couple of years.
I keep telling you, it wasn't for my house. It was for the traffic to get people to go to school in the morning. It had nothing to do with my house.
Okay, let's see if we can work this out. I know Councilwoman Gooseby would like to work with you.
We'll do the same thing we did before. We'll come out in the morning and we'll.
Well,
Thank you.
We have a lot of things wrong, and I'm back on the job now. So you'll get a whole list, and I hope you come out and take care of it. Because I'm going to tell you something else that's really happening in Roosevelt, okay, and I know it's not happening all over the place in the town of Hempstead, is that now everybody's parking their commercial vehicles in their yards. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Have a good day. Huh? I am. Don't you worry. I'm gonna be on the money.
Rory Gordon.
Rory Gordon, Hop Hog, New York. 2 meetings ago, I discussed with you the computers in the building department. How did you make out with that?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
2 meetings ago, I came to you with a photograph of computers that, can you stop the, oh no, right. Computers in the building department, and I gave you a photo. They're unconstitutional, they're overcharging, and what got done about that?
We're investigating it.
Is it going to take a long time to investigate? Because that's something that really should be stopped. It's been like that for years. I have a question for Councilman D'Esposito. How many hours a year do you dedicate to your constituents being a member of the town board? Tons. What does that mean? 1,000, 50, 20? A lot? How can you sit there and say that you do the same job as the rest of these folks when you have a full-time job that requires you, as far as I know, to be at a place, Board of Elections, and it's reported in Newsday that you're a 90% employee, so you can take time off for town board meetings. So you devote 10% of your time now to the town board? Well, he said he will be a 90% employee. So
Let me ask you a question. With that comment, you're saying that everyone up here commits 100% of their time to the town of Hempstead, right?
that is not what I said. We have an attorney that sits there. We have another attorney that sits there. Neither one of them are here right now. We have an attorney over there. They can work anytime they want. They can work nights. They can work weekends.
So everyone has a job. Everyone has full-time jobs. I commit countless hours to serving the town of Hempstead. I'm very confident that it will continue in that way. And I'm sure anyone in the 4th District who has an issue will make it known. And the day that I represent Hop Hog, if you have an issue, you could let me know as well.
God forbid. I mean, we have a supervisor that makes $165,000 a year that's working her butt off. You make $100,000 at one job and I think $72,000 at this job. I mean, how can you in good conscience, jump up and down and scream about baseball kids having to pay for the parks when the only reason they have to pay for the parks is because we got to pay your salary of $100,000 a year at the Board of Elections. You got a no-show bogus job over there. So, I mean, I just think it's wrong, and I don't know if anybody else has spoken up, but I know you spoke up about it, but I don't think anybody backed you up about it, and I just came here to do that because I think it's absolutely wrong. We got 100% of your time before, and I think if you want us to be on the town council, we should still get 100% of your time. And I don't see that being possible unless, of course, it's a no-show job, and then please don't jump up and down and say that you want the parks. And the little kids that, you're upset that they have to pay for their baseball or little leagues. I'm upset about it too because we pay exorbitant amount of taxes and we shouldn't have to do that just so everybody can get $100,000 or $120,000 or $150,000 a year jobs. I'd like to change the subject. Everybody talks about heroin and how bad it is, County Hempstead, Nassau County. I have a question for Mr. Dunn. I know you passed that. You were very efficient in getting the hookah law passed. Everybody's worried about the well-being of our kids. What is it that we're doing to let kids between 18 and 21 go out and have a good time? What options do they have?
It's not the job of town government to make kids have a good time.
What did you do?
It's not the job of the town of Hempstead for us to make 18 to 21-year-olds have a good time.
So take away everything that they had a good time.
I do sit on a ton of committees that are trying to find ways to keep kids off the streets doing productive things.
Like what?
So they don't go to drugs.
Like what?
These committees are volunteers in each of the communities, in East Meadow, in North Belmore and North Merrick, in Levittown, Island Trees area. There's so many people that are committed to our children to make sure that they don't get hooked into this. There's been over 600 deaths on Long Island of overdoses. So you think we take it lightly, you're talking to the wrong person.
And we on the town board supported Councilman Dunn in his vaping legislation. It's a good thing. I have 4 small children. Well, not so small anymore, but I have 4 children. I care very much. I don't want them vaping. I really support this legislation. I know everybody on the town board did, and we thought it was a really good thing.
Okay. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad. I'm just asking, what are you guys doing to give them outlets? And Mr. Dunn, I'm going to ask you this question. When you grew up, we had clubs.
This is a period for public comment. It's not to interrogate Councilman Dunn or Councilman Diaz-Esposito.
I'm not interrogating him. I'm just making a point.
You can make your comments. We welcome your comments, but it's really, this public comment session is not going to be a means to interrogate members of the town board. If you have something to say about them, I respect your right to say that. I'm being very respectful of everybody here, but this is not, we're not people on the witness stand being interrogated.
And I'm not interrogating, but I'm just trying to make a point. We had lots of options when we grew up. You are younger than I am. You are probably my age. I don't know how old you are. But with that being said, we could go to clubs. There were social events we could go to. There's nothing for these kids. And for $10, they're going to go stick a needle in their arm, and it's disgusting. I don't think it's horrible, but we're not giving them any outlets, and that's what's troubling. That's the only point that I'm trying to make.
Those clubs were not provided by the town of Hempstead. Those are private industry.
I'm sorry?
Those clubs are not provided by the town of Hempstead. The clubs that you're talking about that we went to, those clubs are not town of Hempstead clubs.
No.
But you know what? I applaud the volunteers in our community that are the scouts, the leaders, the Little League leaders, the football leaders, the cheerleader leaders. These people dedicate their time to keep their kids together and away from the crowd that are getting into destructive decisions. So we're doing the very, very best we can with our communities. And I applaud what Councilman Diaz-Esposito is saying. You're saying, oh, he said something about kids. You know what? That's what we're here for, to help the kids. I love what he said, and I back him 100%. And I wish that he said it in a press conference, because I'd be standing right next to him.
That's got nothing to do with the issue with heroin.
Well, you know what? I'd like to address the issue with heroin, if I may. First to start, I think that we've done our best to help people of all ages with the opioid overdose in the town of Hempstead. Just recently, this Sunday, I guess if you're keeping track of that percentage pie, this Sunday I was in the village of Rockville Center, where the supervisor is from, at a place called School of Rock. I'm sure her kids have friends that go there. It's a place where people learn how to play instruments, they put on concerts. It hosts hundreds of kids a week. I actually think there's one in Suffolk. There's a few of them. And I went there on Sunday morning, as I've done to local libraries, to Boy Scout troops, to Little League coaches, to libraries, to firehouses, to village halls, to conduct Narcan training and give a opioid overdose class to the kids that are there that are 18 and over, as well as teachers, as well as parents who may go on trips with them. And since we've been doing this with the help of everyone on this board, we've distributed over 1,600 Narcan kits to help these children. So I think for you to say that we're not doing anything and we're not giving them anything to do, just hope that they go stick a needle in their arm, I think it's the complete opposite. I would argue that there's not many boards or municipal governments that are doing as much as we are in the town of Hempstead without having our own police force. I commend what the county executive is doing and Commissioner Patty Ryder. They're getting out there, they're getting in front of the opioid issue, and we are doing the exact same here.
And he's also going to do, for me, in my district, a class. I've also attended classes that are being given by the schools. I am a lifetime member of Girl Scouts because I've worked with them all of my life to make sure that they're good. Any kids, I've worked with them. We do many things to help. Yeah, I don't know what you do outside, but I do. And when I grew up, there weren't any clubs, but, you know, we were kids, we got together, we came up with things that would interest us. And our parents work with us as well as the members of my church. Our parents were involved in our lives. They knew what we were doing. So we need more of that. But we do as much as we can. Here, there's nothing else.
I just feel that when we grew up, there were a lot of outlets for people that were 18 to 21, and I don't see those outlets today. Scouts, football, cheerleaders, little leaguers, they're done by the time they're 18. That's it. They move on. So it's the 18 to 21 gap that I just had a friend that his kid died from heroin overdose. It's horrible. I don't.
And we agree, and we're doing everything that we can to avoid people dying. That's why we've put over 1,600 Narcan kits into people's hands. We hope that none of them have to use them, but if out of those 1,600 and the countless hours that I've spent teaching the classes, if one of those people is able to administer Narcan and save one life, then guess what? I guess the 7 of us that sit up here have done our job.
But there should be no reason for you to have to use the Narcan kits if they had something to do other than shoot heroin.
I'm not going to debate this with you, but if you can honestly sit there and say that if someone had something to do, then they would definitively not do heroin or an opioid, that's for a total other conversation. Because let me explain something to you. I've looked at the numbers. I've taught the classes. There's kids that are star athletes that have plenty to do, that are winning trophies. They're athletes of the year in their schools, wealthy schools. Guess what? Their final minutes are with a needle in their arm, and they've had plenty to do.
I think we all agree that the opioid crisis is a serious crisis, and every member of this town board is committed to doing what we can to make sure that anything we can do to offer support for education, for Narcan training, as Councilman D'Esposito said, we're all committed to that. And we do have a number of amazing recreation programs in the town of Hempstead as well. We offer seasonal employment to a lot of young college students, the exact age range that you just described. So we're doing what we can, and if you have any other suggestions, we'd be happy to take them.
I just find it's got to do with society. When we grew up, the drinking age was 18 to 21, then they took it away, and then you had dance clubs for 18-year-olds. No more. You can't get insurance, and there's not one left not on Long Island, not a single one. And everybody likes to go out and dance when you're 18, 19, 20. And that's pretty sad, and this is the only alternative that these kids find, and I feel terrible. I'm not condemning what you're doing. I'm just saying, what can we do to help these kids, give them an outlet? That's all.
Maybe find someone who wants to open up a club, an 18-year-old non-alcoholic club.
You can't get the insurance. You cannot get the insurance. It's impossible. They will not insure you. That's it. Game over, 18 to 21. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Alton Lawson? Alton Lawson from Hempstead? Pearl Jacobs?
Good afternoon. I just want to start by saying it seems I'm always last or near last, but that's okay. I wonder if that's orchestrated. But it's fine with me. It's okay.
I used to have that honor, so.
It's okay. Supervisor Gillen, I'm speaking, Pearl Jacobs, Uniondale. I'm speaking on behalf of the Nostrand Garden Civic Association in Uniondale. And it is the goal of the Nostrand Garden Civic Association to bring positive quality of life transformation to Uniondale. And I do want to publicly thank you, Supervisor Gillen. We spoke several weeks ago regarding code enforcement, regarding sanitation, and since that conversation, we have noticed positive strides and improvements in Uniondale regarding sanitation, and we would hope that would continue. I'm sure it will. Now, to speak on the issue at hand, the code enforcement regarding buildings, I'm going to read the mission statement, or could I say the responsibilities regarding the Town of Hempstead Building Department, right off of the Town of Hempstead website. The Department of Buildings strives to preserve life and property and maintain the suburban quality of life through the administration and enforcement of building, plumbing, electrical, and housing codes. The department enforces the ordinances, rules, and regulations relating to unsafe buildings, multiple residents, places of public assembly, the use and occupancy of real property, buildings, and structures. The building department is responsible for performing all inspections and enforcement activities with relation to all laws, codes, ordinances, rules, and regulations within the general administration of the department, not the residents of Uniondale, as we are always told. On Tuesday, March 15th, a bond was passed in the amount of $158 million, an unprecedented amount, on behalf of the Uniondale School District. The school district has informed the residents of Uniondale that this bond will be used to address the overcrowding capacity issue that has become an urgent issue for the school district. Residents were informed that they would only see approximately a $30 per month increase in taxes. I, as a civic leader, take offense to the use of the word only, as there are many residents living in Uniondale that realistically cannot afford a $30 per month increase, mainly on regarding our senior citizens that must sustain their households on a fixed budget. When the Uniondale School District Administrator for Registration attended our Nostrand Garden Civic Association meeting on March 5th, residents asked questions regarding the issue of over-enrollment and wanted to discuss the issue of students attending the Uniondale School District who do not reside in the district. In my opinion, neither question was answered to the satisfaction of the residents. The administrator placed the blame for over-enrollment squarely on the shoulder of the Town of Hempstead for failing to enforce building code violations. The residents agreed with this statement, but the residents also stated that the Uniondale School District must bear some of the blame as they remain inactive, thus sending a message that registration policies are not adhered to in the Uniondale School District. So the equation is as follows. Lack of code enforcement equals overcrowding schools, and the solution was as follows. In this equation, a $158 million bond was passed and levied against the residents of Uniondale. And the result is the intentional infliction of financial distress on Uniondale homeowners. Many residents are extremely upset regarding this bond vote. The numbers tell the story, as this bond supposedly passed by only a few votes. Uniondale residents are not happy that Again, they are asked to dig deep into their pockets to resolve an issue that could have been a non-issue if only the town of Hempstead building code enforcement addressed the long-standing violations in Uniondale's residential communities. And as Ms. Funderburk said earlier, not only do we have, this is attributed to the overcrowding of the school district, lack of code enforcement, we do have commercial vehicles, landscaping equipments, buses and such parked on our streets, in our driveways, many code enforcement violations in Uniondale. It's a big, huge, serious problem in Uniondale. And again, I say it's not up to the residents to enforce code enforcement. Code enforcement needs to be out in the communities. Thank you.
Do you have any addresses where you see?
I just read to you, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, that's not my job. Code enforcement needs to be out into code enforcement needs to be out into the communities, and that's really all I have to say. But thank you very much.
But okay, so you don't want to help anyone who has a problem. If what they do is let us know, we take care of it. That's what we do. We have to do that. I heard it, but after you let us know, we take care of it. You do yours, honey.
Lucille Defina.
Good afternoon. There's so many things to discuss.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Lucille Defina from Eric. So many things to discuss about the animal shelter and other things, but a short time to do it, so I have to pick and choose what's most important. And I have to say that it is very alarming to me that the administration, the people who are in charge of the shelter, the director, Mike Pastore, and Siegel, who both of them together have managed to throw out and get rid of all the experts in the shelter, from the behaviorist team, the volunteers that were a part of those teams, the buddy programs, the play groups, and all the wonderful events and activities that went on there, along with lots of vet care, 7 at one time, vets. The place had everything. It had vet care. It had a behaviorist. Everything was growing and improving. And with these two people at the wheel, it has all been dismantled. And you are aware of all this. I did not walk the streets with you. I did not campaign for you. I did not even have a conversation with you about it. But I was told that everybody brought this to your attention. And I know this is true because I did watch all your campaigning, all your videos, talking about how this shelter was your utmost important. And I know you're going to read me the list of the things you're doing, but these RFPs that you have out there for behaviorists and for vet care, what's so different from what you're doing than what Santino did? Nobody is aware of them. They're on your website. No one knows where to go. You're not looking for experts. And then if we're lucky enough to find somebody who comes forward and discovers that the shelter is looking for this position, they're going to get roadblocked by Pastore and by Siegel, because these people are the people in charge. So what is so different about what you're doing? So I'm really fuzzy here about this whole platform you had about transparency. And you keep talking, no matter what anybody comes up here to complain about, you keep talking about transparency. So I have to ask you, what are you doing that's so different? This is not transparent. When you first came into office, you opened the doors and you had Mitch contact us and say, bring us in. Let the advocates walk through the shelter. Let them see with their own eyes that I am transparent. So for a few weeks, there was a glimmer of hope, Supervisor Gill, and that maybe you would be transparent. And I went in there to show good faith. And I did not come up to this microphone back then in January and tell the public what I saw. But I saw the results of everything that has happened over the last couple of years. I saw cats and kittens piled up in an isolation room, in little dark, filthy, dirty cages, next to healthy cats who were recovering from surgery. I saw a place that was in such disorder, and this was under your watch. This is in January, and this is after your people have been in and out of there speaking to these people, Pastore and Siegel. And nobody thought this was terrible. Nobody thought this was disgusting. And in my conversations with Mitch, his feeling is that, isn't it better just to have what we have than have nothing? No. I'd rather have no behaviorists. I'd rather have no vet care because we'd have the same thing. This is what we have now, nothing. People just pretending that we have these services. So the dogs are getting the medical, and volunteers and people are doing all these donation accounts and helping to get these animals out and help get them vet care. What are the cats getting? What if Santino got reelected? What would have happened in January when we have now no contracted vets and only 2 vets that was one of them $160,000 in arrears? What would have happened? We would have never known. So yes, it all came out. But what's going on while everybody is trying to get their act together and figure this out and wait for some rescue organization to come in and save the day and privatize it? What's happening in the meantime? Why aren't I allowed to keep going in?
Thank you for your comments.
No, I'd like to know what's going on with those animals in the isolation room. And why has Liz Stein no longer want to have anything to do with you?
Okay. All right. Christine Wilson from North Babylon. From North Babylon.
No, she's coming. Let me see this.
Christine Wilson, North Babylon, New York. We are looking to take a dog into our home.
Would you pull it up, please? I can't hear you, honey.
We are looking to take a dog into our home.
Okay.
And we found a picture of Buddy on Facebook yesterday. So I called because I was told that there was no behavioral evaluation done yet. And he was surrendered on March 1st. Yesterday was the 18th, 19th, and 19th. And when I called, I spoke to the front desk, and they said he's still not evaluated. This is Buddy.
I can't see it.
He's beautiful. He's just a little white, so everybody sees. It's a beautiful dog. But a surrendered dog should not be sitting there for this long without being evaluated. So my concern is, how long do evaluations usually take? And I was also told if he's not evaluated, that only the employees can take him outside, that no volunteers can spend time with him. So he's basically been sitting in a cage. I just want to know what's the norm for behavioral evaluation at the town of Hempstead? Because I'm going there after this to see what's going on, because I want to meet him. I do want to meet him.
I can answer that for you. Is anyone here from the animal shelter?
Anybody know? Sorry.
Well, you know why.
Sorry.
Mitch Pitnick, counsel to the supervisor. And I don't have the specifics, but we can give you the answers afterwards. But generally, there's timeframes that are set forth in the law when an animal comes in. So it depends. A surrender may be different.
March 1st.
Right. And I know.
Excuse me, please let him speak.
There are laws, and each one's.
Excuse me. Let him speak.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. So I'm not doing anything but addressing the board. Please don't speak from the audience. So with Buddy, there may be issues that we could talk to you about afterwards.
With Buddy.
Yeah, with that specific dog. So I don't have the information in front of me, but I certainly could.
Because I want to know about it.
Mr. Pinnock, I think the meeting room is open in the back. Maybe it would be best for everyone.
Absolutely.
You guys can take it back there. He'll be able to provide the information that you need.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Valerie Lamp, Baldwin, New York. Is Laura gone? Does that mean that she left?
No, she had to take care of something, and she asked me to do this while she's out.
I'm just asking because if she's coming back, then I'll save certain things for the end. Okay, well, I'll start with, I just wanted to make a couple of statements regarding the foiling system. So, hey, Laura. The online foiling system, I submitted a foil, and it's my first time foiler. Anyway, online, we receive a receipt number after the submission. So my question I just wanted to know is, does that count as the acknowledgement that you're supposed to get within 5 days? Can you stop my clock?
If you got an acknowledgement, yes, that's your acknowledgement.
So the receipt number counts as your acknowledgement. Okay. That was the one thing. The other thing was I submitted another foil via email. I actually prefer it that way. I get to keep track of my sent records. And the FOIL request was responded to by Ms. Jerome. So I was requesting, as prior to my attendance at another meeting, I was requesting a copy of the paperwork, Mitch, that you showed me. But they were asking me to provide specific dates for both an invoice and a contract I was requesting a copy of. So I don't have that information. I have no way of knowing a date of when any vendor has contracted with the town or the date of the invoice. But my response was, I would like a copy of the most recent forms, and I was responded to, you need a specific date. So I feel a little bit frustrated in that, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea of ascertaining those dates. So does that mean that I'm going to be blocked from obtaining that information?
Valerie, hi. Hi. I'll try and get more details for you because Marie Jerome, that's in my office. So whatever I can do to expedite and help you get the information that you need, you can give the details if you know, or you can give them to me or to Michelle or Mr. Pitnick, whoever.
And if it's a document that Mr. Picnic has knowledge of, he'll help you out with the dates.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. The other thing was regarding the Inspector General, which was changed to a compliance officer. Where do we stand with that? What's going on with getting a compliance officer?
I believe civil service, have they approved the title? We had to go through a civil service process before we could hire somebody. Have they approved the title?
It came before the Civil Service Commission a week ago, I think last Wednesday, and so the paperwork's being processed to the position has now been established, and now interviews will take place.
Okay, I also wanted to ask Mr. Conroy if he's here, but I guess everyone should know this, right? What is the current financial status of the township? There was always a discrepancy between we have a deficit, we have a surplus, or we have a huge deficit versus a $6 million. What do we have?
We're going to be putting out a statement. We're still analyzing the finances, but you will have a comprehensive statement outlining the financial health of the town of Hempstead.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask, so we have this huge pending snowstorm again. What changes have been made since the last snowstorm to improve the deficiencies uncovered in the audit?
So the recommendations that are set forth in the audit, which is available online, have been implemented. So by way of example, we now have allocated equipment to different locations so that the equipment that's in the various locations is more appropriate for the type of streets that we have. We now have centralized operations running out of our highway department where various commissioners are engaged in responding to snow emergencies, such as the Commissioner of Parks, the Commissioner of Sanitation, and the Commissioner of Highway. They operated independently in the past, but now they're all together at a central operations at our highway yard in Roosevelt, so that there's communication going on between all those people in the same location, with the Commissioner of Highways kind of taking the lead and being the head person in charge of snow operation and snow response. We are in the process of centralizing our complaint mechanism. One of the problems that we found was that you could call the hotline, you could do an online form, you could call the highway commissioner, some people were calling council members, and while everybody wants to be responsive and helpful, sometimes messages were just getting lost in the fray. So we're in the process of centralizing our communications and emergency response so that there's one direct line, so this way things don't get lost in the shuffle. Those are a couple of things. We can talk about it further if you'd like.
Okay, sounds good. I wanted to actually, I wanted to ask, so last week you, or 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure, but you were in the press stating that you felt that Councilman D'Esposito's new position with the Board of Elections was a huge conflict of interest, and you were asking for him to step down. What is going on with that? Do you still feel that way?
I do think it's a conflict of interest, and apparently the councilman disagrees with me.
Okay, so we're staying. Got it. There is something I feel compelled to say. As far as the meetings are going too long, first of all, you know, I have this strange feeling from several members of the board as well as the supervisor, but in general, like, I don't know, it's so weird. I went from being this person who couldn't care less about her local government, who couldn't care less, I didn't know anyone's name. I didn't even know who my council member was. I thought it was Councilman D'Esposito, and then I was corrected. But the point is that something struck a chord with me, as you know, on an issue very close to my heart, which is the animals. And because of that, I saw things that I couldn't unsee. And so here I am sacrificing my time away from my business. We are the taxpayers. We are the residents. And we sit here and we listen to a lot of things we don't care about, and we don't eat, and we barely go to the bathroom. And so to be told that, number one, we're an audience. We're not an audience, okay? We pay your salaries. I'm just saying, we're here and we sacrifice a lot to come here because we care about our local issues. And I don't really want to hear that the meetings go too long. I agree. You think I want to be here for 5 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours, whatever? Sometimes, remember that magical double header that we had in December? I mean, this isn't something we do because it's pleasurable. It's not a hobby for us. It's because we're driven here and compelled on issues that matter to us. So I do take exception to that. You know, you want to expedite us, now we're not allowed to ask questions. I'll tell you what would help. You know, I've called Mr. Ra's office and several times and have not received a return call. When I thought Councilman D'Esposito was my councilman and I was concerned about the landfill cats, I sent 4 emails. You know this. You keep telling me that you sent me an email and you're going to find it and you're going to resend it to me, and you've never resent it to me. And I've left messages there and I don't get a phone call back. In all fairness, Councilwoman Sweeney has an excellent response time on her team. I'm just calling it like I see it. But maybe better communication. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, I called you actually once and left you a voicemail. I know what you're going to say. You didn't get it. I know. This is why we're here.
Thank you for your comments. And I didn't say that you can't ask questions. It's just we can't have an ongoing dialogue when we're trying to move a meeting forward. All your questions we can talk about after the meeting.
But there is a big difference between an interrogation and an inquiry, in all fairness.
That's fine. And to inquiries that can be addressed right away, but for longer discussions, we need to take it off during the board meeting and have it privately. Marcus DiTieri? Marcia, sorry.
Marcia DiTieri, Merrick. On behalf of the animals, it's very close to my heart also. And I pray and I hope that things get changed, because they don't have a voice, and it's up to you and the board and the town to help them. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your new position and hope you can get things accomplished that all of us were struggling to achieve with the prior supervisor. I also hope You're as passionate about our environment and animal rights as many of us are here. I know it is an ongoing battle, and I would love to see light at the end of this never-ending tunnel of destruction and cruelty that occurs at the animal shelter. I am here today as a follow-up to the many meetings I attended prior to you taking office regarding tree preservation. The town abiding by current preservation laws, as well as changing some of the laws to coincide with the town of North Hempstead and the town of Oyster Bay. Their laws involve protecting trees on people's property, not just on curbs. Aesthetics, water and wind absorption, shade and oxygen is what tree preservation involves. I would like to give you copies. This is some of the paperwork that the board has already received at the many other meetings I attended. I do not have the copies of the petition that had over 450 signatures, but every board member, as I said, and legal has a copy. The petition is about preserving our deteriorating environment, including stop the clear cutting of all the trees that get in the way of progress, including healthy, mature trees. This is destroying our environment, the wildlife, our water, and the oxygen which we breathe. I had also spoken with the town attorneys regarding tree preservation laws and changing them as the town of North Hempstead as well as Oyster Bay, indicating that no healthy tree be removed from the front of anyone's property without due cause. This is not on the property, this is on their property, not curbside. Mr. Santino indicated that this would be looked into, but it was not. No one ever from legal called me following up as requested. For follow-ups, I've only spoken with Alex, who assured me that my fight was not in vain. Every day, I see more and more healthy trees being cut, so more and more homes, way too big for the lot, can be built. Clear cutting, not preserving. I hope that you can change and enforce these laws before we lose all that gives us life. That was one issue. My second issue I had discussed before was about business not recycling. I recycle, as many of us do, to stop the landfills. Businesses are not legally bound to do that, except for cardboard, I think. I was told it was going to be looked into. No one ever called me back on that. And the other issue that I had brought up were the landscaper noises, these leaf blowers. I bought my phone because I just wanted you to hear what I listen to every single day. See if it comes up. Of course, I have no signal here. It's starting now.
We'll take your word for it.
2 and 3 landscapers blowing these leaves, noise pollution. Here we go. Every single day. This is what I hear. It's starting now, and they were supposed to be looking into controlling the noise so it's not so loud. I don't know if there's anything that the town can do. I know other townships are looking into it, but it's enough to drive you crazy, and it's polluting the air. I have to shut every window in my home while this is happening because all the pollution is going into the air that I breathe. I mean, quality of life should be better. We shouldn't have to close our windows when it's beautiful out and then have no recourse. So anything that you could do, I would appreciate it. This is for you. This is just from my prior meetings, and I pray for the animals and the environment that you really can make a change.
Thank you. Just with respect to the noise, we do have a noise ordinance. Is it that you think it's not being enforced, or is it outside the window in our noise ordinance?
Every single person except one other on my block have landscapers. It starts from morning until after the sun sets. There's not one, there's not two, multiple. And the noise is so loud, it's enough really to drive you crazy. So I don't know what the ordinance entails, but I don't see anything being enforced. I think he had said that on Sundays they have to start after a certain time, and that's the only ordinance I know about.
We'll follow up with you afterwards to see the hours and make sure that it's being enforced in your neighborhood.
that, and the recycling, and the trees, and the animal shelter, of course.
Thank you. Jim Alkus.
Jim Alkus, Amityville. I first would like to thank and congratulate everybody that does everything for the children, all the volunteering. I think that's an honorable thing, and more people need to step up and do that. Sounds like a bunch of great people. So thank you for that. I'm here, I think everybody knows why. It's a continuous situation. I'd prefer to not come to every board meeting, but I'm left with no choice. I actually came to the building yesterday to try to speak to somebody, and I was told, Charles told me to go to the building told me to go to Charles, and anyway, it's just a continuous circle. So I don't know who's going to or if I'm going to get to talk to anybody, but I just wanted to put it on a record one more time that I appealed a decision back in September, and I never got notice if that appeal was listened to, read, or responded to. So that's the first issue that I'd like to know. Second of all, what I'd like to know is if you do have anybody that handles people with disability within the town besides your regular members, and if you did, who would be in charge of that department? And I'd also like to ask, you know, in the public meeting, it was stated to me by Mr. Ra that there were going to be a few things that happened. This was back in December. And yet, what was said to me that was going to be done for the first time has not happened. So, simply put, I put it into an email last week, and wasn't responded to again. The last thing I'd like to say before I leave is that I do understand that running the board, all of you, all the grief, all the Twitter accounts and all the nonsense, it's a very nasty world out there, and it's an abusive situation, and I do understand that. I also understand that, Mrs. Gillen, you just came in, and you barely got your people behind you, so it's going to take time to implicate anything that you want to do, and probably going to, you know, everybody has to come into an agreement. So I respect that process. I'm asking you as a board if maybe somebody could just oversee the wrong that's been done to me, because I don't make it up. It's not something that I created. There's a lot of facts, and nobody's even cared to ask me about them.
Sir, if I may, I think the last time we spoke was probably before the new year. Just so I can get a better understanding, and kind of I'll make it quick so we have all the facts. At this point, you are able to be a plumber in the town of Hempstead, correct?
Yes.
So if you needed to, you could come here, get a permit, do a job in the town of Hempstead?
Yes.
All right. The test that you've taken is 2 parts or 3 parts?
3 parts.
3 parts. So you have the written, and then the lead wipe, and what's the third part?
Drawing.
The drawing, okay. So you've done the first 2, and you're having the issues with the lead wipe, right? Just so I can get a better understanding, because I don't remember.
No. So just, I'll send you out the.
Okay, fair enough.
But so far over the time, I had passed every single one, but they had alleged not in order.
Okay.
After I foiled your minutes, now it's a matter of record. I believe Mr. Rao will agree with you that they selectively choose who has to go back to go. Okay. There is no go back to go for everybody. They were selectively choosing that, which I made the minutes available. And again, I understand the board that you guys want to stick up for your personnel. And I don't mean to slander anybody individually, but just as a few people came up here and were a little shaken about not responses, I mean, responses are important, and without responses, everybody gets aggravated. I happen to believe I'm a level-headed individual, and I actually spent 5 years doing it. I've also passed it on multiple other places, and I also passed to New York State, which I'm on a state list for facilities. So, you know, the fact that I'm stuck here in Groundhog Day is besides me, and it's something that could be settled simply, but it appears it doesn't want to be. And
But as we settle this, whatever way it goes, as of today, if someone called you for a job, you are able to do it, make the money in the town of Hempstead?
Correct.
Okay.
You took the last part, right? The issue was that they weren't going to let you take the last, but you took the last part. Didn't we facilitate that, and with the help of the supervisor and Councilman D'Esposito, you got that, right? You took the last part.
There was a situation that arose again, and I don't know if you're up to date, Mr. Rock, but if you had a couple minutes, I don't need to do it publicly. I'd love to speak with you for a couple minutes if possible. You always seem to be reasonable. Mr. Casella always seemed to be reasonable. I never meant to come up here to try and, beat up the building director. I just was disappointed that he doesn't return a call. And when you don't return somebody's call, like anything in life, you feel ignored. When you feel ignored, the only recourse I have is a microphone. And I choose to do it because I know it's my only recourse. I'd prefer to work something out. I mean, that's what I'd prefer, but hopefully we can get somebody reasonable that we can work it out. I thought you were going to take care of it, Mr. Rob, but Mr. Colvat, he doesn't seem to be available often. Thank you.
Mr. Rob, will you be able to speak to this gentleman after the meeting, Mr. Algas?
I thought we did accommodate you, but.
Thanks, Mr. Rob. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you. Next, we have Teresa Kahutka.
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the board. How are you? Teresa Kahutka, CSEA Local 880 Town of Hempstead employees. I'm here today to read a statement written by our president concerning the animal shelter. So I'll start with that. This letter is being written with regard to the installation of additional security cameras in the Hempstead town facilities, and in particular, the Hempstead Animal Shelter. The town has for many years enhanced the safety and security of the public and our workforce through the installation of security cameras both inside and outside of various facilities. It has been the standard practice when installing cameras inside facilities to use cameras to monitor hallways, stairways, elevators, and other locations of access and egress. It has also been the practice to make certain that cameras are not trained on employees' workstations. In cases where employees' workstations inadvertently fell within the preview of a camera, the town made appropriate adjustments to eliminate the situation. It would be highly inappropriate for an employee to be placed under constant surveillance throughout the workday. Such monitoring of anyone would constitute an egregious violation of privacy and would greatly impact employees who would come under such electronic surveillance. The installation of 10 to 20 new cameras in the shelter gives me reason for great concern. I respectfully ask that this board make certain that the town continues the longstanding practice of using cameras to promote public safety and to do so in a way that does not compromise the personal privacy that we have all afforded our employees. Should it be the intention to have any camera situated in a way that does not compromise the reasonable privacy of an employee, I would request that the town and CSEA enter into impact bargaining so that such intrusion may be mitigated to the extent possible. And that's from Charlie Salito, our president. I do have to say, I do agree with that. I think that's a big problem in the shelter right now. We do have a lot of employees that do not show up, go home early, and I wonder why. They're under such scrutiny from certain groups and other outsiders, and to have cameras pointing at you constantly, why would you want to come to work?
We have cameras in the kennel bays to make sure that the animals are being treated properly.
And that's fine, but
Thank you, I appreciate your support.
and I hear that there will be more. we are totally against that, and I hope we can come to a mutual agreement on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Please hand over your statement and I'll review it. And I'll share it with the members of the town board. Okay, that concludes our public comment. Thank you everybody for being here. We'll see you again. No, there's no slip for you, Ms. Meriday.
Slips I have to turn in, but I've written about 10 things on that one slip, and no, oh no, ooh, been waiting. Whoever's got to go, because I got to say what I'm going to say. Nita Meriday, Baldwin resident. Where does one begin? I am just, first of all, with this compliance officer, I hope that the process with the compliance officer does not take the same as the bonding and financial.
We will be issuing an RFP for a compliance officer.
Okay, and again, I'm just hoping that those individuals that receive that information, that it is full disclosure and the diversity is key, because that's definitely not happening here. Our first responding process with regard to storm, I'm concerned that we do not follow even FEMA regulations that incorporate the utilization of faith-based operations, community groups, civic associations, things of that nature. So I'm concerned that there are still residents that are consistently in jeopardy and are not getting the aid and the assistance that they require when it comes to being supported during these activities. So I am, again, putting it on the record that someone that is hired here, because we have more green staff within this township that seem to continue to have to take a while to, what was the quote that I keep hearing, get on board or get on track, when residents' needs are continuing to be jeopardized. I have a problem with that. And then we talk about public safety, and we continue to compromise the resources that are available. Lives are lost, and we really need to address that before we have other tragedies, and then folks get in front of cameras and try to point fingers and place blame, but you have family members who have to bury their loved ones. And my particular interest of note, and I'm sorry that Councilman Dunn has left the room, because he and I continue to have this ongoing discussion as it pertains to the unmet needs of our veterans, and I wanted to share with him, and hopefully he will avail himself of justthefactsmedia.com to get the full transcript of my statement with regard to research findings, what the specific needs are as it pertains to veterans. And the first item is employment, second is education, third, physical health, fifth, mental health, sixth, family and community, and lastly, legal, financial, and housing. And I still don't understand when we can switch from one account to the next account just to add someone to a committee, that we cannot add an additional person or resource to address the needs of the estimated 40,000 plus veterans in the township of Hempstead. Long Island alone has the second largest population by percentage in the United States, second only to San Diego. We have resources that are very limited, non-existent as it pertains to veterans in those key areas. So for someone to say to me, or anyone, because we are all responsible for the needs of veterans, not just the people who serve. The family members are still a part of that process. Community residents are impacted by that process. We have homeless veterans. We have hungry veterans. We have veterans that are living in probably some of these homes that we are paying to have, that used to live in some of those homes that we're paying to board up. But we still have this attraction to the fact that we have one counselor and a part-time person and possibly a veteran counsel. We've spent more money just in these resolutions to board up and demolish homes, to pay for parade permits, to approve more gas stations. Where is the economic development here? Where are the employment opportunities? Where are the educational resources? Where are the programs and services for physical and mental health? We talk about addressing the opioid crisis. I've attended the sessions. I'm a part of the Police Commissioners Council. We're still not, as someone said previously, we need to be in a proactive mode. We continue to be in a reactive mode. And if we're not addressing the family, community, legal, financial, and housing, the important aspects as denoted by the federal government, what are we doing? Why are we paying all these taxes here when we can't even come to a meeting as a resident and see the information that we're supposed to decide on or support you as our leader to decide on when we have to deal with broken equipment? What does that say to how we're presenting ourselves to the residents of this community? What does that really say? We don't have an opportunity to get up, to come in when the big sign says you can't bring food and beverage into the facility, and all of you can get up, walk out, step out, come back, sit around, do what you want to do, and we still have to sit here, losing money, losing time, and losing opportunity with our family, to be insulted, to be intimidated, to be rebuked, and to be ignored.
I left to go to the restroom, and I think everybody here has the right to leave to go to the restroom, and then I came back. I don't think I've ever been insulting or abusive to anyone. If I have, I'm sure you'll let me know. I'm trying to conduct board meetings with respect for residents. As for the cameras, I found out yesterday that they were the TV screens. I found out yesterday they were broken. We're in the process of repairing them. I don't have
Those
any.
screens have been broken on and off for a good while.
We're looking into it.
But looking into it again and not providing when you knew that this was going to be a situation and information was going to be presented to the public, I can't see why there hadn't been an opportunity to at least make copies of that type of material.
Well,
and lastly, you're making decisions that the majority of your board is passing, but you're not even in support of. So how does that speak to representing our interests? You are our leader. If you're the leader and you're just making a statement that says, I have an issue with some of the resolutions that have been passed here, but they have been passed, where does that put us?
I would love to change town law that my vote would be weighted heavier than others, but it's not. I have one vote on this board, and I can't control the way the other town board members vote. So what I can do is stand up for what I think is right, and if I can't vote, if I can't make them change their mind, I can at least say something about it and flag that I think that it's wrong that this went out without an RFP. That's what I can do. That's what I can do, is to continue to be a voice on this town board. When I see something that is not right, I can't force them to vote with me, but I can try to persuade them to vote with me. And sometimes I'm going to have to do that just by publicly making a statement at a town board meeting. That's what I can do. My vote weighs the same as every other member of this town board. And you can wish it were different, or you can wish it wasn't different, but I can't change that. That's the way town law is.
But what does it have to do with increasing the resources for veterans?
Right now, I can't do anything to increase the resources for veterans because I inherited a budget that was voted upon by the town board that was created by the prior supervisor. It's not my budget. It's a budget I have to live with right now. In the fall, I'll have an opportunity to do a different budget, and that's maybe something that we can look at when I have the opportunity to do that.
I just find it interesting that these vacancies seem to be getting filled in all of a sudden by a budget that was voted upon, as you say, prior to you getting here. But somehow these vacancies seem to be getting filled in and pushed forward, and we still have the same flatline resources, limited unmet needs for our veterans, and there's nothing being done about it. Until something happens in the news and there's a traumatic incident and that person, sad to say, has a connection to the military, and then everybody wants to jump up, and all of a sudden, why did these things happen? What can we do about it? Do you think I really want to spend the time to come here, as someone said earlier, to separate myself from the work I need to be doing, to have to tell my elected officials about the tons of resources that other people in the United States are doing for their veterans, and we have the second largest population of veterans, and we have more parade permits in here than any other type of programs for our veterans? Is that right? I feel for the young man who had to bring himself here with an expected wife to try to get a job.
Ms.
When
Nardi,
other people come
thank you
here
for your
with no
comments.
requirements
I
to
do
get a
have to cut you
job.
off because I gave you more time than other people, and it's not fair, so I have to cut you off. But
There's a lot of things that are not fair, but I thank you for your time, and I do wish you luck, because in this situation, you need it. Bye.